Just want to remind you to please update Pi's the residential real estate seat in our chapter. She has been in business for over 17 years. She previously worked as a newspaper and magazine reporter and editor. She is a longtime 45-year resident of Kailua, where she continues to reside today with her husband, Greg, children, Jared and Dylan, and 3 pets, a dog, a cat, and a land tortoise. Something we don't know about her is that she has a twin cousin. No, they don't look alike, but they do both share the same birthday, same year. Her burning desire is to help people and find their dream home, and her key to success is hard work and dedication. May I present our featured speaker today, Cindy Siok.
Cindy, do you want to share your screen?
I do.
Okay, let me log off, or not log off.
And then what do I do now? I practiced with Samantha, but now I forget. How do I get my screen up?
Bottom center, there should be a share screen, and then you can choose if you want to share your whole desktop.
Oh.
Or I think just a specific one.
Okay. Let me get it up. Sorry, bear with me. I'm almost there. 10-minute presentation. I work for At Home Hawaii. It's a company my husband and I started. I started in real estate in 2003, and we opened up our own business in 2010. I roped him in, and he does the property management side of the company. Previously, I worked as a newspaper and magazine reporter and editor. I wrote and worked for Midweek, Sun Press, the North County Times, that's where I worked when I was in San Diego. That's their daily newspaper, one of them. I worked for The Log, which was a boating publication, Pacific Business News, Hawaii Parent Magazine, Hawaii Remodeling, and more. It was while working at Hawaii Remodeling that I started writing great kitchen articles, which really opened my eyes to some really nice real estate. And that had always been another interest. I even took that class when I was 23 years old. But I continued in my career, and I didn't switch until I was 35 after another agent encouraged me and kept telling me I would be so great at this. There is a big hurdle to getting into real estate. It takes about 6 months, and that's if you're a go-getter, to make any money at all. So for me, I got up, I went to work every day. I didn't get a paycheck and I spent money. I was buying seller leads and buyer leads. And I was just determined I would follow up with them and call them every day until they would basically tell me to stop bothering them, or they'd end up buying a home. So either way, I didn't want to bother them, but if you tell me you want to buy a house, I want to help you. So I have it. About 6 months after I got in, I closed on 3 deals in a row. So that was when my husband says to me, "Oh, I think this might work out for you." Because remember, we had 6 long months with nothing. And those 2 of those were call into the office because I was always there and I was always trying to find somebody. And another one was a realtor was going out of town, and she gave me somebody she had picked up at open house. So I think it's just like any other job. If you like what you do and you work hard at it, success will follow you. So why am I passionate about real estate? So I grew up in Hawaii. When I was in high school, the house prices were soaring. So I wasn't sure I would ever own a home. I remember looking at land when I was 19 on the Big Island for $10,000 going, I guess maybe I could scrape together something and buy a little piece of lava and put a tent on it. And then I met my husband, and he is a big believer in home ownership, and he has a can-do, nothing will stop me attitude. And one of my best friends from high school told me that her grandpa told her everyone should own the home they live in. And that kind of resonated with me. And so we did buy our first home. We moved to California to do so. And even then it was hard. We were house poor for years. House poor is when all you can do is pay your mortgage and bills and there's nothing left over for fun stuff. So we could afford to go to the dollar theater, but we could not afford to buy popcorn. And that's how things were for a while. But now I am a big believer in, at the very least, owning the home you live in. And there are lots of benefits to home ownership. You get tax benefits. You have fixed payments for your housing. You never have to move because the landlord decides they don't want to renew your lease for some reason. You can paint it the colors that you like. And as long as you don't live in a place that restricts pets, you can have a pet, like a land tortoise, which is one of my pets. What breaks my heart is I meet people all the time, and I know a lot of people like that I went to high school with and stuff. And you get priced out of the market here is what happens. So I was at an open house and I met a retired teacher, and she was this is when I was first in real estate, and she was older, and single women in her generation generally didn't buy a home. They would wait until they were married and then they would buy with their husbands. And she had told me that she had rented a 3-bedroom. I don't think she ever got married. And then rents increased. So then she downsized after a number of years to a 2-bedroom. And when I met her, she was living in a 1-bedroom. And it had just occurred to her that maybe she should buy something because she keeps getting priced out of these rentals. And she was looking at a studio that I had for sale. She didn't purchase that studio. She wasn't my client. She was just coming by the open house. But I do hope she bought something. I don't know. But what I do know is that a lot of people end up at that point moving to the mainland where it's more affordable. And that's kind of hard when you're older and your support system is here. And it's also hard when you're younger and you don't want to leave Hawaii, but you end up having to move away because housing is so expensive. Real estate is the #1 way people build wealth. My husband and I purchased that first home in California for $180. That was in the early 90s. I looked it up last night. The house is now worth $680. So in 30 years, if we had stayed there forever, the house would be paid off and we would have $500,000 in equity above what we purchased, right? But we sold that house so we could come home. We both grew up in Kailua, so we bought a house here, and our goal was, to buy as soon as possible. And because we did that, we've been able to stay in this community, even though prices have soared. So back in the 90s, late 90s, you could buy a house in Kailua for $300,000 to $400,000, which at the time seemed like a lot of money. But now the prices in Kailua average at 1.2. So I really strongly encourage people to buy a home as soon as possible. And people will sometimes tell me, oh, I'm going to wait for prices to come down, or, oh, prices are going to come down in January, or COVID's going to make prices come down. They just don't really come down, not much. I think when you're ready and able to buy, you should just buy. So here's our market snapshot for Oahu for last month. Median price on the island of Oahu is $870,000. There were 420 closed sales, which is good for our island. Homes were only on the market 10 days. So that tells you homes are selling extremely quickly, because that's an average. Condos, the median price is $455,000. And there's 514 closed sales. Thank you, Jim. And those are selling in 19 days on the market. So everything's moving fast on Oahu. This is when there's this much pressure on the market, prices are rising. And then why invest in real estate? So it is just about as difficult to buy an investment property as it is to buy your first home. It's scary, it seems risky, and being a landlord terrifies people. But what other investment can you purchase that appreciates over time while someone else pays your mortgage? So if we had kept that house in Escondido, we could have that would have ended up being a nice investment for us. But then we couldn't have bought in Kailua. So it's all a trade-off. As rents increase over time, the positive cash flow increases accordingly because you have a fixed payment. And then as prices rise, you gain the equity. Homes on Oahu have never tanked in value the way the stock market has. We lost half our investment value in stocks during the Great Recession. Our real estate dipped slightly, but we didn't really care. We still had the same house and our renters kept paying rent. And then, the housing market recovered. So it's terrible if you have to sell a house during a dip in the market, but if you're just holding it, not so bad. One of my favorite sayings, if you really want something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. I love working with buyers because they are some of the most determined people you will ever meet. Some people buy a home and put roommates in the rooms because they don't want to be house poor. They want to have a comfortable lifestyle. Some will buy a home that has a rental or an accessory dwelling unit on it. I've seen people buy a house and add an accessory dwelling unit on it. And I've seen lots of homegrown kids who add a second living space to their parents' home. So if you want to live here, there's ways to do it and make it a little more affordable. In conclusion, it isn't as hard as some people think it is to buy a home. You do not need 20% down. There are 0 down loans, 3%, 5%, 10% down payment loans. So if you talk to a loan officer like David in our BNI chapter, you can learn about your loan options. For money saving tips on my website, which is athomehawaii.com, there's a Save Money tab. This is all the advice I gave to my son. He is now 25 years old. He owns the home he lives in, and he is looking for his first investment property right now. So apparently my advice works. A few other things that can help you on your quest of home ownership is to get professional advice, such as talking to a financial advisor and getting tax help from a CPA. And always use the services of a realtor. Buyers don't pay commissions for the realtor. They get paid from the proceeds of the sale, so there's no reason not to use an agent. And sellers statistically get more money. Even paying the commissions of 6%, they get 10% more statistically. And so they get more money and have an agent do all the work. All right, my time is up. Thank you.